Again, da-da-da-da, microphone in front of the face. So I am here again with episode number 2 today with our lovely guest, Auric Vibe 1111, and welcome around for Roughshod Ramblings, episode 53. All right, here we are. Oh, geez, here we go. I do it every time. I forget to bloody mute the mic, but here we go. Have no idea what we're going to discuss. And it's just a fart in the wind, mate. Just a breeze. Just blow it wherever you may be. Let the wind blow free. How are you doing? How's your Christmas been? What's been happening with you?
Okay, so which question do you want me to answer first?
All of them.
Well, it is a rarity for me to take time off from the day job, but I did manage to do that. So that was a good thing. I think I have done it in past. The last time I did it was in 2020. It was the end of 2020. I ended up taking off between Christmas and New Year. And I thought I'm going to chill. I'm going to get a lot of things done. And a family member ended up almost dying a couple times in the hospital. It was my sister.
Okay.
So it was really hard. It was not a pleasant break. So I figured, well, I'll do it this time because she almost tried to kill herself in the fall. So she's recuperating. She's back home. So I'm good. So
Okay.
yeah, it was a good holiday. Dog and I hung out, got a lot of things done.
Dog and I
didn't go anywhere. Got a couple of invites, but most of them were not doable.
Yeah.
You know, it was just too late a notice. Too late a notice.
When you say dog, you're talking about your dog. No? Yes.
Yeah. Dog.
Okay.
She's in the other room.
Okay. I wasn't sure whether you're talking about your dog or
hanging out with a dog. Yeah. Dog.
Else.
Yeah. And sorry, I'm just a heads up. I am a literal thinker. So be careful what you say to me if you meet me, because I'll take you in directions you never realized you could go.
Well, this is what I want. So do it. Where do you think you can take me? I mean,
I will take you. Okay, and if this is on YouTube, I will cover her not her lady bits, but her sensitivities. I will take you to a whole nother world.
Okay, do a reading for me.
Hmm?
You gotta do a reading for me.
Okay. Well, yeah. That's what happens. Anyway, yeah, you did say we are gonna. You had a really good topic on just before. I haven't watched all of it, so it's a really good idea. And I think a lot of times we end up kind of skimming over some of these things. It's like people have been talking about this for a long time, but it was about the SRAs and it's hard. It's very heavy topic. I think a lot of people are becoming more aware of it. But it's also about the trafficking. It's something that I was aware of probably back in 2016. So yeah, it's been 10 years now working in substance use, where people are selling, I don't say they are selling their children and whatever they can get their hands on. So I don't think it's just people being abducted. It's the parents are producing children to do this, to have this ritualistic abuse program. And it is it is energy siphoning, but all of these things, and I don't want to trivialize it by calling it a distraction, but it's something where we're all involved in, even in our jobs. We can be, and we're not victims. We are participants in an energy harvesting system, whether we're one fostering that or we're both providing our own energy to the system to feed the oligarchs.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was kind of heavy, wasn't it?
Yeah. But it's needed. It's needed.
But it's all connected.
Absolutely. We're living in 26. We're going to expose. We're going to, it's tea time, people. Transparency, exposure, and accountability. And the time is now. So, you know, for all the experiences that we've all been through, we've done the whole gambit. All of us have done, you know, it's just a matter of looking in and seeing where the psyche has, you know, been, I don't know, you know, interfered with, you know, changed, how your psyche has developed, who has played the roles in shaping what you think, how you think, where you go with your lives. And a big part of it is, you know, when somebody says they're not a slave or they haven't been trafficked, or, you know, do you have a job? Do you have a job? What's a job? You know, what's required of this job? How many participants in your family are part of this job? It's not just you getting up and going to work for as many hours and then coming back and then mixing with your family. It's the whole family is going to work. They are missing out on the communication, you know, the exposure to you. It's like, okay, how much time do you have to raise your family? Who's raising your family? You know, and there's all these different areas to it. So the whole trafficking, I don't just see it as a sexual thing anymore, or a meat market or a lush. It's every part of us being exposed to not just the elements that have been turned toxic against us, the environments we go into that we have to go live through and then get affected of. I call it contact. That's your contact. You go into a building and you're exposed to air conditioning. What are they pumping through these air conditions? Do you know? Does your actual company are aware of the toxicity that's going into your system? Right through to the transferable anger, the aggression that you get with road rage. The heat affecting you. You get home and you've had a shitty day. You take it out on those closest to you. Transferable anger. You know, these guys haven't done anything all day to cause you any of these problems, but you're bringing your shit home from work. So this whole trafficking is not just about picking up a child from a family, removing it, doing whatever you want to that child or adolescent person, let's just say person, whatever age they may be, and then putting them into another trade. This stuff has gone on forever. You know, when I look at the history books, you see the stuff about, it was the Negroes, but no, you look deeper, you'll find that women were slaves, males were slaves. You got Enki and Utu. They have a slave trade, but they are meant to be gods and, you know, demigods, and they're working for the right of the people. But you look closer, one has a crook in his hand while the other has chains. So to me, that is a slave trade. Right from throughout history, there are so many signs of the slave trade, whether it's through government and politicians telling you what to do, how to behave. You can't even drive down the street without somebody trying to pull you over and put some chemical in your mouth. You might as well go over to somebody and get down on your knees. I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to calm down.
Yeah. Well, a step too far. A step too far.
This is the thing. Those government agencies and other persons out there believing that they have the right and the authority to make you do and behave and act in a way that they deem fit. What's fit for you may not necessarily be fit for them.
Correct.
So that to me is what trafficking is.
So a couple of things. Okay. So you talked about, you got a day job. So here's the gig with the whole day job thing, because I do totally outside of, all of this. And I think I mentioned earlier today, don't remember, because I do have a tendency to talk out loud. And I think I was getting something downloaded and didn't get a chance to write it down. So unfortunately, I probably lost that bit. Just when you sent me the link to start up this gig this evening,
Yep.
day, wherever you guys are at. But there is another level to all of this, and it is the workers. You're talking about going into work. So you cannot exclude yourself from the fact that you are a harvester.
Yeah.
You are a harvester. Not only are you a harvester, you are being harvested. So it's kind of a twofold blessing for the oligarchs because they are the ones who are benefiting from both. And we have this delusional thought that we are helping society by doing what we do. We're keeping our families safe. We're keeping these people safe. And it is. And it's a program delusion. This is not judgmental. This is using judgment. And I think that even the subtle things that we can be exposed to can make us forget about what we're doing, where we're at, and what others are doing to us. One of the things that came into mind when you were talking about this stuff is that, I used to have a private office. Now I'm in a cubicle. And discussions I have with I'm going to call them clients. They don't want us to call them that. I'll just call for my day job, they're clients. And these clients have some very sensitive information that need to discuss with me. But I am now in a cubicle. How do I make this happen? I plug in, if it's a virtual appointment, I plug in earbuds, and I plug them in, and I talk to these people via video. And one of the things that if you're talking to somebody just on the phone, irrespective of whether you're on the phone or on a video chat, people can still hear me talking. So I made a comment. I was like, I have somebody who's probably 20, 30 feet from me in an actual office. I can hear their conversations. I can hear what they're saying. I can hear people on the other side of this giant room with cubicles. I can hear people talking. So I put in these headphones or these earbuds, and I put on sounds that help me concentrate. I can hear everything around me, but it helps me concentrate. What ended up happening was, I think this eventually got out, and to people that are saying, well, you're really not supposed to use headphones. They don't want us to use headphones because you have to be aware of what's around you. It's like, look, I can still hear these people. I need to concentrate. So I'm putting on sounds on YouTube and listening to these things that can help me focus. So what ended up happening was they put in the white noise devices. They're little circular things. They're throughout this entire floor. And I walked in one day. It's like, what the hell is that? I mean, I thought the furnace was on and the blowers were on. I was like, how am I going to hear anything? You know what's funny is that people having a conversation. I will have people standing probably not even 10 feet from outside my cubicle. I can hear everything they say. I put my headphones in. I can still hear everything they say. They try to be, people are over on the other side of the room through all I can still hear what they're saying. This is why even with that noise canceling system. So what did that noise canceling system do? What is the white noise doing? What are they pumping through there now? That's kind of sounding a little paranoid, but I think they were trying to fix a problem that didn't need to be fixed if they just kind of thought things through about privacy and about allowing people just to discuss the things they need to discuss. It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
No.
What are they pumping through there? I mean, it's just a big distraction. It just feels like another level of the stress. We've got so many people out on medical leave and so many people leaving because they are under so much stress. They just can't handle it anymore. I'm not giving in. I mean, I could retire tomorrow and go do something else. I'm okay with that. But I'm not going to do that because that makes me feel like I'm a quitter, and I'm not a quitter. Yeah. You just keep going. You just keep going. And the problem is that you get to a point where you have to say to yourself, I can no longer feed their beast.
Yeah, exactly.
I can do whatever I want, but it will get to a point where your conscience will get to you and you will no longer be able to feed their beast, and you will have to walk away. And it's scary. It's really scary when you get to that point.
It's like when I see it, it's like, okay, in the early days we were told, it was black and white TVs, and then came out the whole preaching of it's the devil's box, it's the devil's window, don't pay any attention to it. I mean, everybody got sucked into the radio system when that came out. And then when television came out, it was the same thing. It started giving you information, but it was also taking up your time. It was also programming your mind. It wasn't just the actual images that we were seeing and the words we were hearing. It's also the static. What is it as subliminal messages that were coming through. Now, for a long time, I said, no, that can't be right. They wouldn't do that to us. And one day, I was recording something on a VHS, the old-fashioned cassettes. Back in the 80s, and when I went to play it back, there was a little message, and I'm like, what the hell was that? What was that I saw? And that was one of the times when that woke me up to, every now and then I would see a message flick across the screen watching the news or something else, and it was like, oh no, nothing was there. That was just a frame that wasn't meant to be there, but it was there deliberately. Okay, that image actually burnt into my brain without me even realizing it. And it's the same with the music industry. This is what they do. They use the words because they are triggers. Now, when it comes down to not white noise, I had an encounter back in the day where I had a TV in one of the bedrooms, and nobody was home. The TV was actually unplugged from the wall, and the TV came on. I know that sounds far-fetched, but I was there. It happened, and it turned on to channel 22, and it was just white noise, white static, and then there was an encounter that took place after that. But there are things that go on without us even realizing. There's so much energy in the airwaves and frequency in the airwaves that unless you are, you pick up on it at an early stage and see it and recognize it for what it is, we're dumbfounded. We don't know that it's even there. And then, like, you start hearing people getting angrier and angrier when they are put in a situation where they just hear one noise. It will eventually eat away at them, and it will irritate them. It's the same as painting a color. Okay, painting a room a certain color to keep somebody calm. It's the same as the uniforms. Most of the uniforms are blue. That's to keep the person calm. But then they'll bring in the red element, which is then meant to spike it. So you get this you get this contrast of positive and negative influences, and this is what the struggle of finding that balance causes, the destabilization of both our mind and our physical capacities. So we've got to go, okay, well, what is coming through that air conditioning? It's not just the chemicals, but at this moment, we're just focusing on, oh God, I'm always hearing that noise from that air conditioner. I can't think straight. And then you've got all the people in there in their little cubicles doing their jobs, doing their talking, whatever the job is, typing, but they're constantly being bombarded with this noise. I worked in an office where I had to get past the noise of the air conditioner, which was at the other end of the building. It shouldn't have affected me, but it was at the other end of the building, and my sensitivities, it was just a constant drone in the head. But I was able to start hearing voices and noises from the exterior of that, and then it would echo through and come through the waves. So it made me look into the Schumann resonance. It made me look into different types of frequencies, the MK Ultra subliminal messages, how they were pumping this to us. And then I was introduced to They Live. And it was very interesting to see how the frequency has impact on not just the mind, the psyche and all of this, but also the vision, the senses, the body, the physical. And it tires you out. And you'll think, well, I've got lots of energy and I'm on the go, go, go. And then you sit in this environment where the air conditioner is going. You get home and you haven't interacted with anybody all day. There's no reason for you to be as worn out and drained of energy that you are. But when I got used to, okay, this has to be coming from the air conditioner. So it was, I left my job. I had to because of health reasons. It built up these health reasons. I got to see, because I was hiring and firing at the time in this particular job, and I got to see that people after 6 months, there was a turnaround. They were no longer stable for the position for that job. They had to move on. They were making mistakes in accounting and bookings and all of this. And it was because they were stuck in this position, in this room for 8 hours a day with the droning going on. You know, you think it doesn't affect you, but it does. Oh, I want the fresh air. It's too hot outside. You know, you've got to be able to go, okay, there's more going on to this. And they might turn around and say, what are you talking about? It had absolutely nothing to do with it. I don't have those things in place. A lot of buildings and a lot of facilities in the early days didn't even realize the participation, their involvement of these other companies that were coming in. You know, I went into a bank about, it's 10 years ago since I've come down here. So let's say 10 years ago, I went into a bank to deposit some money into somebody's bank and into their account. And the bank asked me for all my ID. Now, why do you want my ID when I'm giving it to somebody else? Well, we need to be able to assert the facial recognition with the depositor. Well, show me this information. They couldn't show it to me. If you get a letter from anybody, I've got one person in mind right now, and it's going out to you telepathically. No. If someone sends a message to you saying, to whom it may concern, well, it's not you, because that's not who you are. And if it is not signed at the bottom of it by the company and contact details so you can get in touch with the company, then it is a scam. We really do need to be aware of all the areas of harvest. I lived in a family and families where they went hunting and gathering, from fisheries to land, to air, to soil. And in those aspects, it was always a form of harvesting. They'd bring it back and they would make sure that they could use every part of plant, animal, mineral, okay? And this is no different. We are no different. We are animal. And they will harvest. We are multidimensional aspect. And if they can use a way to get inside us to harvest where we're our dimensions, this is what they'll do. And they do it through frequency, through colors, through the noise disturbances that you think nothing's really going on, but really they're frying the fucking fruitcake out of you. So I know exactly what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I mean, I think about patients. I think about patients in hospitals. I think about people in prison. I think about people in mental hospitals. Anywhere we are in a collective and they start playing the music. I used to go to church. I go to church and they start off with a song and a dance and get everybody all hyped up. I'm sorry if you do all of this, but you do what you do. Okay, so you go in there and they do all this. They get you into a mood. They get you into a state. You get comfortable. You bow your head. Bowing your head, to me, I can't do it. I can't do it. I need to look that person in the eye. I'm not going to close my eye. I'm not going to turn my back. If you ask me to bow my head, there's a really good reason for me to do that, because the entrance to our spinal fluids, our loosh, is at the back of our neck. You know, people turn around and say they got sore shoulders, or they got a headache, or they got aches and pains, or they're dizzy, or they're ear. You know, stop bending your neck the way you are. You know, you got your cell phone. You bend down to look at it all the time. You know, you're always being harvested of your energies one way or another. And static sound is one of the biggest body destabilizers that I am personally aware of.
One of the things that too that you're talking about, as far as, you know, these are things that we may or may not have in our awareness of. I mean, and it was interesting that you're bringing about, you know, this white. I mean, I basically brought it up, but carrying this forward, it got to the point, because this has been established now. When I walk into the office, it's not even noticeable anymore.
Yeah.
It was extremely loud. It was like, what the heck is that? But we acclimate ourselves to this. And this is, you know, let's not be the frog in the boiling pot of water where it's going to be too late for us to jump. But the other thing is too, that from the get-go, there are ways of reaching that frequency that can make it into here and make it into here that we will not realize.
Yeah.
So, and I remember when because my degree, I think yours is also in psychology, that when one of the videos they required us to watch was this doctor who was talking about how your thoughts are not your own.
Yeah.
And he wasn't talking about, you know, some weird woo woo thing. He was talking about, basically, we are being programmed and have been programmed from the get go. And we think that these things that we come up with are our own. How many times have you come up with something and say, that's a brilliant idea? I have not heard anybody say anything about that. You get up the next day and there's like 10 people out there saying the same thing you were just thinking you'd never heard before.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like the whole, you know, springs forward to the whole unified field and all these other quantum theories. But I guess really the point is that we have these influences all around us and in us and running through us that we're not even aware of. We're aware of some of these other things, but the things that we're not aware of are the scary ones.
Yeah.
And I probably mentioned this before, that a family member who was talking to their spouse and saying, you know, well, what are we going to watch tonight? Oh, this program is on, and let's watch this. It's like, well, we just watched that. It's like, no, we've not seen this before. And they were blown away because they had just seen it the previous week.
Yeah.
And they had read several articles and were learning about subliminal messaging. And it's where your brain receives it, but you can't visually recall it. You don't realize that you just saw what you just saw. And what they do in these TV programs is they have it so you'll watch it again and again and again and again and not realize that you've watched it. And this has been going on for decades and decades, and it's well established. And it's not for you, it's not necessarily even for you to watch the program, although it could be, because they might be doing some social conditioning with the program. But there's also the idea of the advertisements that might be put in there, that you might be inspired to go make some popcorn or go buy whatever fast food. That's because that's how that's how you feed the system, is by you going out and being a consumer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you aren't going to remember, you're going to keep watching that rerun. You talk about zombies. Oh my God. You know, we are in the midst of that apocalypse.
Yeah.
It's not coming. It's been here. I think that zombie apocalypse has been here for a very long time. And they're just now telling you about it again. When were the movies first out? I think there was a zombie movie back in the 30s.
Oh, yeah, and aliens and everything that they could put out there it's already been done. It's been, yeah, even to the radios before TV came out, you know, they had all, you know, television, They had all of this information out there. They were already programming the mind. You know, they were programming the mind. First of all, you start off with, okay, women's place is in the home. Men go out to work. Boom. Then next you get, oh, only boys can go, you know, boys can go to school, but girls are not allowed to learn how to read and write. Later on, that came into place. And then there's the whole voting system. Every little step of the way, it is a program. This has been by design, you know, and it's where we're at now is this zombie apocalypse has been going on for a long time. They've programmed us to believe that zombies are coming for your brains and they're going to react this way or that way. But if you actually sit back for a minute, what is a zombie? A zombie doesn't necessarily have to come from the brains, but the brain is a metaphor. I see it as a metaphor for the, you know, the psyche, the balance that you're at, and how you take and process the information at that particular time. We were in a zombie apocalypse with the jungle juice time, you know, a couple of years ago, you know what I'm talking about. And everybody believed that they had to go and get the jungle juice. So when they did that, this is a type of zombie apocalypse. They believe that they, under authority, false authority, because nobody at the end of the day has authority over you or what you do. And they turn around and say, it's a sin for you to decide your own path. You have to have authority to guide you, you know. And when you go out there and do it, you just have to look around. How many people are on their cell phones? How many people are driving while talking on their cell phones? How many people are absolutely stuck on the internet? I'm seeing a population now come in. I'm old in the eyes of the population now because my belief system does not sit with them on their technology. You know, it doesn't mean I don't know how to use the technology. It just means that I am aware that there was stuff that came before technology. Now, this lot that's here now are like, oh, Alexa, oh, what does this person say about this? Okay, now they listen to Alexa. They don't know. And the internet, the smart devices and robotics and synthetics that are coming out are going to be in their lifetime. It's going to be in ours, but it's going to be their second nature to have them interacting and living in their households. How many people went out and bought toys for their kids that is a two-way radio? You know, I've heard of incidents where babysitters were, you know, the camera's on watching the baby while the parent is in the other room. They can see what's going on because they just have to have a glance and then they can get two jobs done at once. Someone has come in and hijacked that and spoken to that child and made that child do really strange things and all this. This is real. This happens through the TV, through the television, through phones, through smart devices, through the airwaves. All right, how every house is connected to power lines. There are signals and information. If I turn everything off on this property, I can still hear a buzzing. And that buzzing and clicking and stuff is coming from the power lines. So that's like, I'm not sleeping properly at night every night not because of my bed, not the bedding, not where I'm sleeping, not because of the angle of the house, whether it's north, south, east, west facing. It's the vibrations coming into the house from the power lines. And I am very aware that there is so much, I don't know, you know, free energy, if you want to call it that, out there in the atmosphere that has not been tapped into. We don't need to rely on the power generators and government systems, you know, power companies that we've got. And one day when everybody wakes up to this, you know, I mean, when we're looking at the government arms of the new world order and everything they're trying to achieve, it's shutting us down. It's telling us we have to listen to a power of authority. When people turn around and hear the word mandate, they believe that they have to do as they are told because it's been mandated. Mandated, right?
It's not a law. It's not a law. Mandate is not a law. They can strong arm you and put fear into you over a mandate, but as soon as you put your John Hancock, as it were, on that paper, you have agreed to the terms of this mandate. And it's almost, they should have a D. They are demanding that you follow through with this. I mean, because we deal with that all the time. It's mandated treatment. It's mandated rules. And as soon as you subscribe to that, then boom, your goose is cooked. You brought up about what we can hear. I mean, and this resonance. And I think with a lot of the technology that we have today, there are things that are being exposed that the technology we have our awareness of for the general populace is extremely primitive. I feel like it's extremely primitive based on some of the things and the only reason I kind of I'm thinking about it because I watched the Y-Files and they talked about the labyrinth of Hawara and how that, that what is it? Herodotus wrote about, how he got to the door of this labyrinth and he was denied entry. And today we have this contemporary version. What is it? Hawass?
Yeah.
He's the archaeologist. He is also denying, but with the technology that some people are coming up with, they're able to see without digging things up. There are things that are below this labyrinth that they have. They are not allowing people in there, but this technology that we have that you'll have to watch the whole episode on the Y-Files about it. But he talked about the metal object that they found. It could be a portal. It could be whatever. It could be it's a device. There's no way to know for sure what this thing is, but we're being denied access and even knowledge of what it is that's down there. And they're saying, well, we have to dig it up. We have to dig it up. I'm sorry. Somebody's already down there. Somebody is still using this. They're giving you this picture on the surface that this is an unknown technology. Well, if it's unknown, then why are they preventing the knowing? Why are they preventing this? Why is this? Well, it's for the integrity of what? So, I guess the whole idea is that even though we have this awareness of these things, whether it's the labyrinth in Egypt or it's about the towers here in your local town, and you're right. I have not heard since I was a kid true silence. I grew up in the country. I did not grow up in the city or in the suburbs. I grew up where when you turned your light out, the only light was the moon and stars. Yeah. You could not see the neighbors. There was just nothing. The nearest neighbor, you did not see house lights. There were no power lines. There was nothing out where we were at. So the whole thing, I guess, that we've lost is that reconnection with this natural world, with this true silence. And I completely, relate to people that have this draw to get into those areas of this place that we're in. And I think it's rare. I think it's going to be extremely rare where you're going to be able to go into a space where there is not going to be this unnatural resonant technology. They're trying to put the net over not just the people, but the earth. There is this drive to capture, control, manipulate the energy systems. And that includes people, plants, the ether. The ether is alive too. I have a whole idea. I wish I knew more people that could talk about what the ether is. And it's not ETH, it's AETHER. The ether is alive. Those things, those lights in the sky, those things are alive. So, we're in a place we have no idea. We can't even figure out who and what we are. Right? We don't really have a concept of who and what we are. And I remember when my kids were little thinking, even the Bible would say God is unknowable. Well, we don't even know who we are.
Yeah. Well, that's why I say to people is, when we talk about the whole trust factor, I give myself 99%. That 1%, I don't know who I am. I can't tell you 100% who I am, where I am from, what kind of species I am. I know I'm a bitzer bloody everything. And I'm happy with that. If I was to sit back and, where's my ancestry come from? Where do I did that. I did that when I was doing genealogy. I wanted to know where I came from. Who did I look like? Who did I sound like? Was there somebody like me in my family? I couldn't be from the family I was in because of what was going on, but I had to find my roots. And at the end of the day, this genius came into my life, and he said to me, if you pick a horoscope, your horoscope, and it doesn't sit right and it makes you feel like shit, pick another one. Just go and pick one that makes you feel good. Because at the end of the day, words are spell casting. And they're designed to make you feel a certain way and behave a certain way. And so if you're going to fall for the narrative of what your horoscope is, that's how you're going to go. That's how your day's going to go. That's how you're not going to be happy. You're going to be expecting trauma to unfold. You pick a horoscope that makes you feel good and empowered and stuff like this, you go with that. And this is the whole, it does. It comes down to who has the power over me, my actions, what I'm getting from it during the day. Once I cut out all that bullshit authoritarianism on the side of it and say, hey, no, I have the power to say no and mean it, then I can move forward. As long as I stay in my authentic self, when I'm questioning the questions, I'll get the right responses. Even if they're not the right responses I'm looking for, it'll give me enough information and feedback to know whether to go with that person's information or not, And, it's like we go into these rooms and things take place and people say they're going to do certain things or they're never going to do certain things. And then on the next fucking breath, they've gone back on their word. So, it's like we have to be able to tell ourselves, hey, no, I've had enough. I've had enough. I'm not doing this with you anymore. You've told me bullshit. I want to grow this. I want to grow this experience I'm having while I'm here. And all you're doing is slowing that growth down. But I can't put my blame onto you or anybody else. I'm not saying you particularly. I'm saying, it's somebody else in mind. I'm going to move on. I don't need to be here. I don't need to expose myself. You need not complain about what you need not expose yourself to. So don't expose yourself to liars and shameful people who go back on their words. And it's like, what do you want? What do you want from having this experience while we're here? It's all temporary and we'll be back to it again. So what do you want now so that when you do come back in, if you do come back in, you can recognize what you've experienced so you don't have to bloody do it again. There's so much awesomeness out there. We can have nothing going on, and once I get past all the power going buzz, 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 tick, 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 boom, it's still really noisy. Even silence itself is really, really noisy. And sometimes I can't even sleep because there's not enough people talk. There's not enough music in the background, or there's not enough banging going on somewhere else around the place. It's like I'm listening for every nook and cranny movement to see if somebody's walking around. I hear a click of the camera going on if there's a movement outside. So there's always something that's shaping us, shaping our thoughts. To me, that is a form of harvest, vampirism, and of course, zombie apocalypse. I worked
So,
at,
so
gone.
you know, one of the things that you had mentioned is that um, who is who is coming in and harvesting, and I think once you have this surface awareness, we can't point the finger out at whoever they are. We can't point our finger to them. We have to, at that point, say we are permitting. So if we sit there and say we're angry because these people are doing X, Y, and Z to me, no, we are in a major way giving our permission, albeit potentially, uninformed consent, but it's still consent. And I guess the question would be, who am I permitting to abscond with my power?
Yeah.
And once you answer, because it's okay. I give my power over to my employer, from this hour to that hour, for this day, from this day through this day. I'm okay with that because, when I get that pay period, now I'm able to live a very comfortable life, because of what I do and what I endure. And knowing that I do an extremely good job. My employer may or may not relay that to me. I may feel very badly with how I'm treated. I may feel very great with how I'm treated. But that's not really the point. Irrespective of all of that, how I feel, I am still having a greater degree of permission with who and whatever it is, with absconding with this power or this energy that we have. We give it freely, but it's not a gift. It's not a gift. There is definitely an exchange. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of equanimity at this point.
No.
And I think that's why people are so unhappy with it. And you're talking about the noise. There is a huge amount of noise. How many people can say they don't have that ringing or white noise or something going on in their head? And I remember doing this many, 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 many years ago, where I could put my fingers in my ears and I could actually hear almost like a generator.
Yeah.
And this is me. That's me. There wasn't all this Wi-Fi and towers and all this other kind of rubbish. It was just me. So we're also putting out generating this energy, and that also might be to an extent, well, that they're also, without our informed consent, still our consent, but without informed consent, that's also being harvested, if you will.
Yeah. Oh, every part of it is being harvested. We're energy devices, okay? We're feeding something out there. You don't have to actually go to do a 9-to-5 job. You can be at home 24/7, but there'll be something that is harvesting your energy. When you see what these routers are capable of doing, and they can locate who you are, what room you're in, what you're eating, what you're expelling from your body, there is no such thing as confidentiality or privacy. It's gone. The houses that we live in are false sense of security. We believe we can lock the window and the doors to stop the next perpetrator coming in, or the flies, or the mosquitoes, or someone with a gun. It's all a fantasy. It's all a fantasy. Go sleep under a bloody tree. You'll see you're just as safe out there as you are in here, because you can hear it. You can hear who's coming up. You can feel who's coming up. Your body will let you know when you're in a state of threat, when you're in a state of danger. Your body will let you know that. This is why they introduced alcohols and different forms of drugs and medications, and the frequencies bombard us so bad that you can't resonate with what's actually going on around you. If you just get rid of all that shit for 5 bloody minutes of your life, you'll go, oh, wow, that's what I sound like. That's the frequency my body's making, because we're all frequency beings and we produce a harmonic resonance. And until you can say, well, I know what the frequency of my liver is, or my kidney, or my heart, and when they're all working together, this is what happens to my wellness. This is my wellness. This is my will. And then you go, okay, well, these are all other exteriors on the outside, and they're stopping me from hearing this. That means I'm going to go out there, I'm going to buy this food, and this food to expect to hear that frequency. But you need to know that you have a frequency to start with. And when we talk about the zombie apocalypse, all the programming out there says they're going for your brains. They're being controlled by frequency. And that is exactly true. It's the brain is the mental capacity to be able to think. What are you going to do in a moment of danger? Are you actually going to react and respond logically? Or are you going to go out in a state of panic and fear for safety because of the programming that you've seen? And when people talk about being a prepper and stuff, you can have X, Y, and Z in your cupboard and all these weaponries and underground bunkers and everything else. But at the end of the day, you might be down the road when shit goes down and you can't get back to your house. What are you going to do then? You got to have all the skills you need up here, and it's logical thinking at the end of the day. Take away all the noise distraction. This is panic from other people. That's what I say the zombie apocalypse is. When you're not in the right mind state, you are the zombie. You are susceptible to any form of contagion.
Yeah, and I think that from a 3D perspective, as far as being, that the prepper word comes in to mind. If you're out at the shop, that might actually be a lifesaver, because I just go back to all those people that went through those floods over on the east coast of the U.S. Was it a year or two ago, and there were a lot of preppers in those hills.
Yeah.
I think it was the Appalachians, and it was It was absolutely devastating. But there were a lot of prepper people because they had the bug out bags. I have to admit, I mean, we had floods here in 2020, and we were housebound for almost 2 weeks because we're fairly close to some rivers, and there were 3 dams that broke north of us, and they went very close to the 500-year floodplain region. So we were outside of that floodplain, but there were people that lost their homes. I think the river that I'm nearest has a 28-foot where it's going to breach the bank, and it went to well over 30. So some people lost their homes and whatnot. Bridges were washed out. So we were homebound, and this was during the 2020 shenanigans. So we had that on top of all of that. And we didn't have a lot of things in the house, but we had more than enough. And I thought, what if something really catastrophic happened? So I did get some 25, some supplies where they were 25, year supplies where you don't have to worry about it. And you just, hopefully you're able, well, I got a lot of rivers. I can go just add the water from the rivers. You just have to schlep it back and forth. But I guess the point is, no matter if you're prepped or not, you could potentially be in a position where you're not able to access those things.
Yeah.
Whether you have a car that works or not, whether you have the resources at home or not, it's irrelevant. I guess you have to, and I know you've had that training too, that you could be out in the middle of frickin' nowhere and you'd be able to survive. Most people don't have those skills anymore. Most people don't realize the practicality of having the basic thinking outside of the box
Of course not.
how to do something. So how I grew up, I wasn't, in the wilderness or anything. I wasn't like a wilderness survival, but my parents taught us, you make do with what you got. If you can't get what you need, you make do with what you have, and you make it work. And it mother of invention starts cropping up. You're
Oh.
able to figure things out, but there is definitely a lack of knowledge, even on a spiritual level and a practical level, and that resonant aspect, because you were talking about frequency of organs, etc. We have to know what that homeostasis is, and each one of us is going to know what's our unique biome's needs.
Yeah.
So we need to know what that is to reestablish that homeostasis, the balance, that healthy balance. And it doesn't mean, I'm not going to eat sugar, I'm not going to drink coffee, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to drink alcohol. If that's you, that's great. No judgment. Just realize that your needs are different than other people's needs.
Yeah.
I don't do sugar. I don't have sugar in my house.
Yeah.
I'll get honey or agave nectar. I know you don't eat animal protein.
Yeah.
That's everybody's unique body and psyche needs. And we have to find that balance within ourselves that allows us to be the best of whatever it is that we can be. Why the hell we need to do that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe just to be happy. Maybe we just need to be happy and say F it. Maybe that's your fart. Maybe that's your fart.
I see us as living in a disposable society. We're disposable, and we are the society.
I say we dispose of society and make our own rules. That's my gig. If you got something that works for you, yeah, go for it, right? Lift one cheek and let it go and move on.
People will be able to tell where the title came from this. But when we go into it, and in a deep sense, it's like at the end of the day, who can you trust? You can't. I can't trust anyone. I got to trust myself to be able to get me through A and B. And if I'm stuck in town, or in a township or something, everybody's going to go and they're going to go for the supermarkets. Then they're going to hit on everybody else's houses looking for food. When you look at society, you only give them 2 or 3 days and they start panicking. If they don't know, I put a question out there to anybody who listens to this. Before you go and look in the cupboard, write down on a list right now when you hear this, what is in your house for survival? Have you got water purification? What if your water gets switched off? Have you actually got backup supply? Are you drinking water out of plastic bottles that are full of from PVCs? What is in your cupboards? What is your first aid? The thing about being preppers is a lot of preppers forget the basics, and the basics are your teeth, your hearing, your eyesight, your sinuses, allergic reactions to sorts of things, tourniquets, how your basic first aids, how to give stitches if you need them, how to identify dead blood. What do they call it? Oh God, I forgot what you bloody call it. But anyway, it's when your blood gets infected. Sepsis. There are plants out there all around us all the time that are cures to the needs that we need them for. All right. But if you're not sure of what the plant is in your garden to start with, you're going to go and eat something that's poisonous. We've spent all our lives listening to authority, going to indoctrination camps, and listening to everything that's bullshit on the internet, and we have forgotten to take the time to actually look at the basic survival needs. Can you go into your garden and tell me what you can and can't eat? Or you just can't eat any of it because you don't know what there is there? You know, some people have reactions to nightshades, tomatoes, potatoes, you know, nightshade berries. If you know what you're doing, you can eat certain things that are normally poisonous, but you know when they're not, you know. Birds and animals.
Dandelions are safe. Everybody likes to kill off the dandelions. There's chicory in almost everybody's backyard. There's millet. Millet is not hugely nutritional, but it's something that can add something to whatever it is that you're going to get through. You know, most of us have a couple of pounds we're not going to waste away if we end up having something that's a little calorie deficit. But there's stuff in the back. Thistle. Yeah. Thistle is freaking everywhere. It's like, oh, it's a weed. You know, no, my mom used to tell me, I was like, oh, we used to have, you know, dandelion tea. Her mother used to make dandelion tea. And it's like, you know, I had a colleague came over. He's very, very horticulturally positioned in our community. He came over, I said, you know, I have some crabapple trees. He was like, I'm going to plant some, you want some crabapple? Sure, I'll take some crabapple trees. I said, I have this whole fence line. I says, maybe I can take 5. I'm sorry. Did you say 25? I came home from work. My whole fence line was dotted with crabapple trees. Yeah. And it's like, dude. And he goes, oh my God, you have the best dirt ever. I mean, he was like, dude, you're kind of scaring me a little bit. The thing is that the reason it was so good along that fence line is everybody in this, it's not, you know, it's what I call a country burb because they have a farm behind me. But there are homes. It's like an older neighborhood, but anyway, everybody's got the lawn care thing and they're out mowing and they're raking. And I don't rake. I let nature do its thing. And they figure the leaves are going to fill up the low spots. And those low spots, he said, that's where all that nutrition was. For at least 5 years, there were those leaves that were there. And they decomposed and they created this natural fertilizer. And then when we mowed, I don't have a bag on the mower. We just push that puppy around and it puts all the clippings back down into the earth. So, you know, and if we did do clippings, it goes to the back and it's filling up the back where it's very, very low. So I guess the point is that going the way of nature is really easy to do, but we're so programmed that I have to, you know, bag my leaves and put them at the curb, and I have to take my grass clippings and I have to rake my lawn and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, I'm going to let nature do its thing. Yeah. And if it gets messy where I can't get out my drive, I'm going to clean it up. But everything else can just take its course. I don't have to do any of that. Yeah. I don't have to do any of that. Yeah. See, at the moment I'm listening, I'm hearing, I'm not going to say I'm listening, I'm hearing the rhetoric about who's being kidnapped from what country, oil prices going up here and there, places sinking under storms, fires that are taking place. I even heard somebody say the tree just spontaneously combusted from the inside out. Now, we know that Australia's got major fires and stuff that are going on right now. And what happens? There's a whole process to it. So you have a fire that goes through, burns down all the trees, but we know that the trees don't burn from the inside. They have to have a certain amount of resin to catch a certain type of heat for the fire to take place. I lived in the desert. I never saw a fire take place in the desert. We're looking at 40 degrees constantly for days at a time in the desert. And I never saw one tree spontaneously combust. I never saw lightning in a cloudless sky take place, you know. So now, you're saying 40 degrees at Celsius, just to clarify that. That's freaking hot.
Yeah, yeah. We're talking Marble Bar, if you want to look it up. Marble Bar, Western Australia, Pilbara region.
Yeah.
So, these things were taking place. And now you have these trees are spontaneously combusting. I don't believe that. That's a crock of shit. That's programming. There is chemtrails, nanoparticles that's gone into the soil. The tree has been hungry for resource. The oxygen levels have changed. The tree absorbs these nanoparticles, and then boom, a trigger happens. And then you see 6 or 7, or 20 as reported the other day, these little subfires taking place all over different parts of Australia, and they're putting them down to lightning strikes. Well, we've seen this. We saw this 5 years ago. They went round, these trees were, igniting, and then they come in with these big winds to make sure the debris is everywhere and it's all on the ground, and then they come in with the floods. And then these floods create the mudslides. Now, when you're looking at, I did blacksmithing for a while. Yeah, I know I'm a female, but, I was involved in, history reenactment. And so I did blacksmithing for a while. So I learned about heat and cold, hot and cold, and how to crack things. And this includes stones. This includes rocks. This includes glass, how to smash it without even touching it, heat and cold. And why would the earth be any different? So you hit it with the heat, you hit it with the cold. It's going to fracture different levels of this crust surface. And before you know it, it's going to cause a disturbance. When you have a mass amount of water hitting one location at one time, it's going to cause an undercrust, what I'm calling undercrust, under the earth, disturbance. So we're going to get earthquakes that happen, because it's the earth just trying to balance the weight that it's being pressured. And so we have all of these different, earthquakes happening around the world. I don't believe that it's natural. I believe a lot of man, if you want to even call it man influence, because on that's another subject altogether. There is enough land out there for all of us to have a patch of land and live freely on it with all supplies that we need. Is the government authority coming in again saying, no, Farmer Joe has to have that so he can raise his cattle or sheep, so you can wear the clothing on your back, wipe your ass with the toilet rolls from the trees, or eat the meat and the bloody glue that comes from the animals. Now, every avenue, I say, look at every avenue. You go to the supermarket to get your food. Tell me about the journey it takes from your house to the supermarket, get that shit, and then go home. Now, look at it all. Okay, you've got all of those influences in between, and you've got to try to stay sane while you go and pick it up, just to get infected food to come back that's going to put you in some sort of physical, mental, comatose happy state. Food is a happy state. We didn't need 3 meals a day. This is a fallacy. You want your body and your system to work properly. Maybe if you're lucky, 1 meal a day. I know that for the weight that I've got on my body, I know how many days that I can go physically without eating food. But water is a different thing. You were saying earlier, go down the local stream and grab the water. If as in the there's a book out there, it's Silent Warfare, Art of Warfare. If you're going to look at doing that, you're looking at the first thing they're going to do is hit the water supply. Right? So you don't know, if you don't have a means, if you don't have the means up here, you've got sand, you've got charcoal, you've got bark, you've got all sorts of different landscape that will help you filter the water from the toxins that are in there. Don't forget boiling it, and then when you go to drink it, there are so many ways of protecting what is out there around you, so you get the freshness of it, not the toxicity of it.
So one of the things that pops into my head about when you're talking about the water and the filtration system, one of the things that way nature does this is it is kind of amplified with, when we flush our commode, most people send their stuff to to the processing plant in their particular area. Many others, which, I'm not on that right now, but I would love to get back on a septic system where you had a tank, you put a natural product in once a month, and it would liquefy the contents and it would push it out into a field. Now that field has media in it that will detoxify what that liquid that's being put out there. So that's kind of what you're looking at in a less intense aspect. So when you're talking about the survival and going down and getting water at the river, one of the things that we can do and this is actually, I think, illegal in some areas of the UK, you can't have rain barrels.
No.
You can't harvest the rain and filter it and use it for yourself, which is BS.
Yeah.
But anyway, if I wanted to do something like that, I could. We have really high water tables where I'm at, so it's probably not like a super huge big deal. But I guess the point is that there are ways to set up media. It doesn't have to be some carbon filtered reverse osmosis system. It has to be something that gets out like heavy metals, some of the other impurities that might be coming through the air, like ashes and bugs and whatever else, and maybe bacteria and even viruses. But there are media that you can get in small containers that you could carry with you. So if you wanted to go to a riverside, preferably moving water, that you could go and get a small supply. But it's preferable that if you had something on your own property, that you'd be able to filter that through some sort of media. We have the technology. It's just that we've lost that specific knowledge on how to do that. I don't think we should have to be survivalists, because I think that there is a technology that we do have that allows us to be able to live a better life rather than live in a tent in the forest and, rubbing two sticks together. Does that sound like progress to you? It doesn't sound like progress to me. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm not a glamping person even. I'm that's not me. I did my rustic camping. Not happening again. Not unless I'm absolutely forced. I'm not going there.
Don't tempt fate. Okay, that's all I can say is don't tempt fate. Looking at all the political movements and stuff, there used to be a board game called Risk. I played it for a little while, and then I saw, okay, this is what these governments are doing. And I strongly feel that they are all working together in unison. They're taking away the dollar. They're upping the prices of diesel and petrol, petrol dollar, whatever they fucking call it. They're going to take it to what they call a barter system. So I give you X amount of hours, and in those hours, you're going to give me X amount of food for me to survive. But I need to also put in X amount of more hours to be able to have the roof over my head, etc., etc. So we're going from the barter system we first started, which was, oh, yes, I can get you this if you can get me that, to the fiat currency, the fraud currency, which is, promissory notes and this sort of thing too. That doesn't work anymore because the people are aware of it. And so they go back into the fraud system, which is digital currency, digital ID, and then taking away people. I mean, when I'm looking at, this is a whole new topic that we've got to talk about another time, is the digital ID. This is taking away everything. This is recreating another straw man identity. Yep. All right. Yep. So and the future crimes are already being committed. So anybody using AI to write anything, they're going to get stung with a future, down the future line, not too far away. I promise you that. Plagiarism, because AI is going to turn around and say, well, actually, I helped you with that. That's my material. If you don't say that I helped you with it, then it's mine. and this is what's going to happen. So any books that have anything that you've written to do with AI in it is going to get burnt. And then we're going to go back into the reset where you're not allowed to read, you're not allowed to write. I mean, it's already started. Everybody's on their phones. Ding, 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 ding. How many people are picking up their pen and writing their names each day? You know, I worked in a general store in Marble Bar. And anybody on the reserve, the Aboriginals, the originals as I knew them, would come in on Benny Day, Dole Day, Payday. They would come in and they would have to put their X on the page when they got their money. And they wouldn't get it all because they had to pay for the foods and everything else that they were purchasing. So they got enough to go out and buy their alcohol, and that was that. You know, for the rest of the week, they go and live on the reservation or out in the bush. And this is what we're going back into. If you're not going to follow the routines and get the jibby jab and get the, you know, live in the smart cities and bow down and take it up the, you know, when you've been told to, then you're not going to be able to live in these smart cities. You're not going to have these vehicles. You're not going to have fresh water or anything like this. It's not going to be available to you. You're going to be an outsider. When you become an outsider, then you're going to be hunted. And I'm seeing this now. I'm watching this happen. China has got these buildings burning down. You've got the floods. When these people come into government, what they do is they're able to own X amount of rivers and land and this sort of thing. And this is called council. And then when they have a plan in place, they want to go and put a train track across a country for their own, you know, deceptive reasonings, they have to burn you out because you won't move. All right. So they'll hit you with whatever dew weapons, you know, that they can. And then from there, it just gets worse and worse. You know, humanity is replaceable. You know, your life doesn't really mean too much because there's always somebody who's going to fill your shoes, somebody who can step into them. So you have to go, okay, I have these skills and this is what you can't take from me. You have to keep me alive if you want these skills. And all these skills are up here. We can use the internet right now to learn the very basics of how to survive. Do you know what to do if you get a toothache? Do you know how to pull that toothache out? Do you know how to recognize the body is having reaction to a toothache that's not even giving you shit? You know, this is real. And I don't know too many people out there that have the basic skills for that. I have to call them basic skills because they became my second nature.
Well, and the thing with the whole idea of somebody telling you that you're not valued and you're not valuable, again, I have to go right back to the fact that we are giving them permission to devalue us.
Oh, yeah.
Because if we have this divine connection, if we have this divine access, then they are no different than
That's
we
right.
are. And we are permitting this delusion, this deception to carry out in the way they want it to. And I you know, because things can get really, really dark. Things can get really dark. They're only going to get dark if we permit them to get dark.
Yeah.
We are only going to allow them to get dark if we consign and subscribe, whether it's overtly, whether we admit that we're doing this, it doesn't matter. If you believe, this is a big part of it. If you believe that this is going to happen, it will.
Yeah.
If you don't believe and you have the conviction within you that this is the way life will carry forward, you know, it's almost like if you look at these Star Wars movies, and granted that was all bullshit as far as, I mean, it was all designed, it was all pre-designed. I mean, you can find a lot of the parallels to all of the movies. But really, it boils down to things will happen because of our belief systems. And we give our energy to those belief systems, whatever ism it is, whether it's scientism, science, or religion, or whatever that belief system is. If you give it your power, your consignment, then that's the way you're going to go.
Yeah.
I hope you get off of my fucking boat, because I don't want you around me. I have a perspective of, this is the way things are going to go. And if you don't like it,
learn to swim.
yeah, I'm gonna, I play Assassin's Creed, and one of my favorite ones is Odyssey. The reason that I like Odyssey, because that dude can do a little hop and gives you that old Spartan kick, and you get that kick in your tuchus or in your face, and you are flying off that cliff. And I'm telling you right now, if we don't take that kind of, and I don't want to, well, maybe it is kind of a cutthroat kind of thing. It is. If we want to survive this and not survive it, but thrive through it, we have the ability to do that. We do, without hurting people, without going out and doing that, the whole ratcheted, what is it? Not Chuck Norris, John Wayne kind of attitude, but it is in a spiritual sense that we have the command over this.
Yeah.
We are the ones with the numbers, not those at the top of this theoretical pyramid. We are the ones who are going to take control of this paradigm that say we are not going to go back. We are not going to be primitive. We are not going to be the ones who are going to bow, bend, and scrape and allow you to shove whatever in whatever orifice you can think of that's pretty unpleasant, in my word anyway, that you're going to give into it. See ya, hasta la vista.
Yeah.
This is not what we're talking about. We're talking about not just survival. We're talking about a revolution in a positive way that's going to bring forward this blissful revelation of who we are and what we are. If you think those God stories and those goddess stories back in the Greek times, there was stuff going on before them.
Oh, yeah.
We don't even know about. Enlil, Enki, all that shit. There was stuff going on before them. This was established before them. I don't believe any of the BS that this whole, whatever it is that they're putting out there. We are the ones in control of what happens now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gonads, use your hands, grab them, and make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, every day I'm looking around, seeing what's usable, what's not usable, what we need. I mean, our disposable society, how much clutter do we have that we don't actually need? We build it up thinking, oh yeah, we can use that later on, or hey, we gift it to somebody else, but it just sits there and it sits there and it sits there, and we don't need it anymore. I'm seeing us moving into an age where they're really pushing hard. They're raising the rents on people. And none of this is necessary. It's just highway robbery. It's just government thievery. It's bullshit. It's making sure that people go into recessions and make it harder and harder for us to survive. Once upon a time, a general rent was anywhere from $125 to $200. Now you're up in the thousands for 1 week's rent, and I'm thinking that is so disgusting. Who
makes that kind of money anyway? When we were in Johnsonville It was like 400 some odd dollars a week. You know, double that. That's what we're paying for a month here.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, if you're a good tenant, you take care of your property, you take care of the maintenance and all of this, you know, why is it that people feel like they can come along and put the rent up? It's disgusting. It's despicable. And at some stage, the people are going to turn around and say enough is enough. The government has to go. And I'm all for the governments have to go, because the people will see what they basically need and make sure it starts happening. To start with, I say, what are the vegetables and fruits and the regular food supplies that you get when you go and pick up your weekly supply of shopping? Now, what out of those can you actually grow on your windowsill for you to take off a branch or two each week? You know, I can't help it. All my plants are undercover now because of the chemtrails that we experience, and I don't want to be eating metal all the time. So, you know, and it's like the war is all staged. Everything is all staged. Anybody who is participating, and I do have people that are involved in military combat. They go to war. And who and what is it that they are fighting for? They don't know, because they've been injected and they believe this is the program that they're going to go and do and save us all. You know, they want to be the heroes in all of this. We're all heroes. We've all done the work in one aspect or another. And I've always been a believer that if the government starts a fucking shit problem, they need to be the ones dealing with it. I want to see Trump and some of these other guys he's fucking fighting with and sending people to their death on, fighting with these actual other prime ministers and stuff. I want to see them have a punch up, because this is disgusting. It's time to get these guys out of politics and parliament, because they haven't done anything good for us, any of us. You know, there's you know, with the ice raids and everything else that's going on, it's been set up. It's been staged for this to take place. They allow it to happen. They allow the drug running and all of this to take place because they're the biggest purchasers of it in the first place. And then they turn around and say, oh, we let you in after you give us this ID, and they give them that ID, and they say, you know, if you look at the amount of people that were coming in before they turn around and did the ice raids, they were in clean clothes. They were not refugees. Clean backpacks, clean shoes. They all had cell phones, and they all had plenty of food. None of them looked like they were starving or anything of the sort. And they were all of military grade. As far as when I say military grade, short back and sides, you know, certain body weight. And of course, they're always going to have one or two women there, because you need medical staff. You need medical officers. And so this is how I saw it. And now they're saying, no, you can't be here for this reason or anything. And it's all lies. It's all excuses. These people knew what they were in for. They knew what was going on, and they are part of it. These people are not being rounded up and shot back over to the other country. They're being distributed. Back in the day.
Redistributed. Yeah, redistributed.
I sat back and I watched this incident where, you know, it was, I said to my housemate, those guys are too short to be Canadians, Canadian officers, Canadian police officers. They are too bloody short. Their physique tells me they're of Asian descent. And one of the helmets got knocked off. And of course, they were Asian descent. And then after that, there was all this big stuff that started going down over there in Canada. And I'm thinking, they have then moved down further and further and further. So they came in through the Canadian borders and stuff. Now, I don't know much about America and stuff. I know ancestral shit and all of that's there, but I'm in this life right now, and this is where I'm working from. But what I can see is this is not the first time. Here in New Zealand, I remember them introducing South Africans, Asians, and then it just went from there. And it's like now we are the population that is like struggling to stay here. We were born here, and you brought all these immigrants into the country. They've taken all our jobs, and you wonder why the people of the land, the original land, don't have jobs, why they're asking for help and all of this. It's not because they don't want to learn. It's not because they don't want to do the job. It's because there's nothing available for them to do. And the steps that they have to take to do these jobs is 10 times more hoops to jump through than those immigrants coming into the country. And that's the part that I see as a setup. It's huge. I saw back in the day, and I know a couple of members in the group from New Zealand here will notice, there are 4 or 5 elderly gents that got in a bloody boat and rowed out to sea. And they got picked up by the military out there and claimed refugee status because they could not survive on what they had. And the immigrants and refugees that were coming into New Zealand had so many more rights. You know, clothing, food, housing, everybody was helping them out. But they weren't helping the originals from the land. And that is what we're looking at today. They don't want to help you. They're replacing us. We're being taken off the map, and we're being re-genetically designed. You know, Cabbage Patch Kids, here we come again. And the new synthetics are being put out there. This is what I'm saying. I know it sounds really fucking crazy. But
because what you're talking about is a redistribution of the population, and you're right. The whole Cabbage Patch thing. This was a discussion I had with somebody several years ago about the fact that it's not just a social engineering, it's a geographical engineering. You're going to depopulate a certain area, and then you're going to reintroduce another population. I think that that's what the United States is kind of basically had gone through a couple hundred years ago. What reset? How many? That was at least 2 resets ago, because they had people coming here making all these claims that all this new land was available. That new land was available because there was a reset previously. So you can't tell me that these, what they would call, indigenous peoples, nobody's indigenous. There are no indigenous peoples, I don't feel, anywhere. I don't care what you say. There's something that happened before the Egyptian times, before all this stuff that we've been talking about. There are things that are so far buried under, and you talk about the memory wipes. There's a lot of memory wipes that we've been going through. Generational, it's unfreaking believable how many things that humanity has gone through. It's just really super deep buried underneath the ground in our psyche. I think on a genetic level, we do have it within us to be able to reconnect to it, but we're so distracted. Yeah. One of the things I think that you and I had mentioned was like, you had said, oh, you want to come on? And it's kind of like, we need to talk about the fact that all these things, no matter what they are, whether it's survival, politics, digital ID, trafficking, healthcare, the environment, whatever you can think of, all of it is to keep you focused on something other than who and what you are. Yeah. And that's where we are giving our power. If you're giving your power to that, I mean, we're all in the same freaking big ass boat. We're all giving our power away to somebody or something else other than trying to figure out who and what we are. I'm going to get a little maybe woo for somebody, but I don't care. But the pervasive message that I have been getting over the last month or two is that stop, disconnect, and reestablish yourself with yourself. Yeah. Figure out who and what you are. And this is going to be that replugging into the battery and figuring out how not to survive, not to thrive, not all that BS rhetoric that people have a tendency to say, but it's to realize that it's either going to matter about everything or nothing matters. So that's a Queen song. Nothing really matters. Right? I
Yeah,
mean, ultimately, that's kind of that whole full circle thing. Either you're going to figure it out and say, "Oh, I have command over all of this." So
yeah,
either to me, in my experience, nothing matters or everything matters,
yeah,
and I have total 100% control of me and who I am and where I'm going, and I'm good.
yeah,
I'm good.
yeah. When I was going to a counselor one day, I had to go to a specialist. He didn't look me in the eye. I recorded everything. Of course, I recorded everything because I am who I am. And at the end of the session, he said, let it all go. Don't think about it. Okay? Don't think about it. How can you not think about what you've gone through, all the abuse and all of this? How can you not think about it? And, I've seen interviews and I've seen stuff that he's done. And at the end of the day, we are the energy that we put into ourselves. Okay, so if you want to concentrate on being in that victim state, and that's a program that we go into, it's like, okay, I'm always going to be that victim. Well, I'm not always going to be that victim. I'm aware of what took place and I move forward from that. We can use that energy to grow from it. I can use it to recognize it when it's happening to somebody else and do something about it. So I don't need to stay in that victim mentality. And this is the whole life mentality. I don't have to stay in the authoritarian, type of mind where you tell me what I have to do. I'm going to ask you why. I'm going to ask you what you're going to get out of me doing what you're requiring me to do. If you tell me that you have the right to do something, I'm going to prove you don't have the right to do something. I'm going to prove that there are other ways that we can get the same job done for the benefit for all of us. Every single one of us is a problem solver. All right. Once a problem comes up, we allow ourselves that acknowledgement that there's nothing that we can't achieve, that we can't correct. I mean, I'm not talking about the greed things. I'm not talking about going and buying a bloody mansion and having Tom, Dick, and Harry move in and all this other shit. I'm talking about the basic necessities. We've got a roof over our head, a clean food, water, air, companionship. This is what I'm talking about. You don't have to have somebody live with you. You could have a bloody animal. You could have a picture of an animal, whatever. And we can, all of us can achieve this. But the government has made it so, this is the authority. They step in. We're under, whether people like to admit it or not. And this is one of the things, one of my little irks is, when you wake up and realize that you're under soft martial law, it's everywhere.
Yep.
Okay. And it just takes one little fake epidemic to put us into martial law. All right.
Yep.
Or a siren to go off.
Oh, she disappeared. But yeah, I think we've been under a sort of a not really a martial law by legal sense, but there's definitely a situation where we're all more or less allowing ourselves to be placed under something. Yes, so we're still going through the martial law. I mean, yes, we're all under what you called a soft martial law, and I think that was brought into everyone. Well, it's informed. You were informed of it back in 2020, but guess what? You've consigned to it if you participated.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean by participate.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a lot of areas like that. I mean, how many people actually signed on a dotted line? Because it's never a straight line. It's a dotted
Yep.
line. How many
Yep.
people signed up for their electricity or their phone?
Yep.
Or, what utilities that you use? Did you sign for it? Or was it just a gentleman's agreement over the phone that doesn't count for shit? Especially when a company can turn around and say, oh, we've got to put these charges up. That's not an agreement. That's a renew establishment. You have to reestablish what you're getting, whether it's worthwhile or not. You know, when you get somebody pulling up your driveway, oh, we're here to check the meter. Oh, why are you getting your ladder out? Oh, because I'm going to change it to a smart meter. You've got 5 minutes to get off my property. 5 minutes. That's all I'm giving you. Get in your fucking wagon, piss off. Because I never gave you permission to come and harm me in any way. And who are you again? You know, people forget to ask these questions: who, what, why, where, and how. Because these people are working for these organizations. They know damn well what they're doing. They know damn well the damages, the cancer rates going through the roof. And it's not just the jungle juice that caused this. This is frequency. This is polluted foods, and it's everywhere. And if you don't start doing something for yourself about this, you're just going to go down with the rest of them. You know, I went up to Waikamini Cemetery one day where I used to use that place to go for a walk, and I've got family members, immediate family members who have died and are buried there. We're going for a walk one day, and there's some telecom guys there at one of the mausoleums. And I said to my mate that that I'm jogging with and stuff, what are they doing? Why are they putting some sort of phone system inside a bloody mausoleum? Are you trying to wake the dead? What is it? The dead's going to reach out and touch somebody? What's going on? And as soon as they realized we were actually paying them a little bit more attention than just joggers, they packed up, got in their vehicle, drove around the corner. They didn't leave, and neither did we. And when we came back to go back past, because it was a circuit, they were back at it thinking we were gone. So whatever they were doing it hopefully that nobody would recognize it. Okay? So it's deceptive means. They're planting these little devices all around everybody's fucking township, streets. You know, we had council members come to our house one day and knock on the door. You could see our whole yard. You could see the trees in the yard. You could see whatever we had in the fucking yard from the front gate. They came to find out they wanted to count the trees in our backyard. You know, it was like, what did I do? I told them they've got 5 seconds to piss off. Come back. If you're going to come back, you make sure you bring the right paperwork, because right now I think this is bullshit. You don't need to be here. You know, you look at that game back in the day, what was it, Pokemon Go or whatever, where it was a real big craze. And I know some of you guys have already heard me talk about this, but we had a mother, I've still got her photo on my Facebook somewhere out there, leading her kids like a duck down the road, looking for the Pokemon Go or whatever, whatever it was at the time. And they had their camera facing inside our yard, inside our gate. They came up to our gate and they're like, oh yeah, in the gate, in the gate. What are you looking for in my yard? This is despicable. I'm going to come to your house and I'm going to come into your property and I'm going to see what you're doing. Do you want that? You know, you want me to listen into what you're doing at night? Oh God, I don't want to do that. But you know, and this is the thing. The government puts it out there, they allow it out there, the kids go and do it, they think it's something, it's a game, and they just continue to perpetrate ill will against others without even realizing what the hell they're doing. And until we turn around and say, no, you can't do that, and this is the reasoning, go and do your bloody research, or if you don't, somebody's going to knock you in the bloody brain cell for it. So, you know, the government is putting people in harm's way by not clarifying exactly what's going on. Learn what consent is. It's consent. You're giving permission to somebody else to con the fuck out of you. You know, I'm sorry. I've got to calm down.
Don't be sorry. You're not sorry. Don't lie. Come on.
I know. I'm not sorry. I'm just like, I'm passionate.
There you go.
You know. Anyway, my girl, we've been going for almost 2 hours. Are there any questions from the audience that you would like Auric or myself to answer? And while we wait for those, is there anything that you would like to put out there where they can reach you? Anything coming up in the near future for you?
Yeah. So I haven't updated my website yet, but rx51111.com. I have, kind of like a little brief bio, but I haven't updated it to include that I'm a Reiki practitioner which kind of comes in handy now and again. I do weekly lives on YouTube, although this upcoming Saturday at noon Eastern Standard Time, it will be something that's pre-recorded because there's an event that I will be going to for the entire day. But other than that, I just do my day job. You know what I'm saying? I mean, yeah, it feels kind of soul sucking on some days, waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning and sitting down at 3 and working until I have to go into the office. But you know, you got to do because you talked about passionate. I am passionate about helping people, but if people don't want to be helped, I'm losing the passion.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so just be true to yourself, do what you got to do. And things will always be good. Things will always work out. If you need help, ask, reach out, call, do whatever you got to do, because it's not worth giving up. It's not worth giving up anything to give them the energy that we have that's sacred to us.
Yeah.
Yep. So, I mean, our energy is sacred. My space is sacred to me. And I did a little thing today, though, when I did the reading, it was kind of like, you're alone, but you're not alone. It's okay to be alone. It's okay to feel that you're whole, but it's also not okay to justify being alone because you don't want somebody else to hurt you because you've been hurt in the past. So that to me says, if you were hurt in the past, you didn't learn your lesson to being vulnerable and understanding that other people are, and I know you don't like that word, but there are some times that we have to do kind of hold fast to what we are and who we are, but we also have to allow ourselves some injury, as it were, to have that growth. The tree does not grow without the wind. When that tree moves back and forth in the wind, it builds strength in the trunk. If you don't, and the roots will grow deeper. If you put posts up on either side of it with the string, it's not going to do that. You take those posts off and it's a big tree, it's going to topple because it doesn't have that friction, it doesn't have that stress, and it cannot go beyond the stress that where it's going to break. So that's where it calls for our good judgment, not judgmental, but having good judgment of knowing what our boundaries are.
Yeah.
Good boundaries, accepting some of those stings that we might get to learn from. And I think that makes us a better and a truly a whole person, whether you have a partner or not. That's truly what makes us a whole person, not closing off your heart and being offended at other people because their opinion is different than ours. That's not what this is about. You don't have to accept them, but you do have to respect them.
Yeah.
Move on. Just move on.
All right. Well, thank you for that. And thank you for coming today and jumping in and you know, wherever you may be, let the wind blow free and enjoy it because it always makes you feel better afterwards, regardless.
Open that freaking window and we'll see you on that flip side, right?
And as for me, you can find me most places. Just type in Stone Hobbit. We do a weekly group Hearthfire hangout, and we just talk about whatever's going on in our lives, and it's not about advice, it's about suggestions, positive growth and moving forward. I also do a Hearthfire motivational writers group where we write for 1 hour a week to 1 hour a day on getting our information out there, stories, encouragement, motivation, whatever it is that you're trying to do. So keep an eye out, look forward. As you can see, when I go to do a show, it's just absolutely sporadic. We just throw out the link. It's usually about an hour before it goes on. I say usually, but that's a lie. It'll just happen when it happens. So thank you, everybody, my lovely audience, for coming along and participating. It wouldn't be a show without yous. I love yous all. I don't love, I appreciate. And I'm not going to buy silver because silver and gold is too heavy to carry. I carry the knowledge that I need to make myself clothing and fire and everything else I need. So be well, enjoy the breeze, and stay as sane as you possibly can. And like Bruce Lee, I think it was Bruce Lee said, be a reed, allow it to wash over you, okay? So let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. So thank you again, Auric Vibe 1111, and I'll see you again. And everybody out there in internet land, have fun, okay? Make good memories. That's what it's about. So thank you again. I'm out.